Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Normally, my videos are about things that I experienced in prison, or things that I saw in prison, or things that I done on the streets or saw on the streets that eventually contributed and led to me being in prison. I definitely don't want anybody to think that I'm condoning that type of stuff. So periodically on Fridays, I do what I like to call a free game Friday. And what this is about is I try to just instill a little wisdom in the people who may be out there in the streets, and especially the youngsters, in the same manner some of my older homies did and gave information to me and my homies when we was out there in the streets, in hoping of helping us move smarter in the streets and eventually transitioning out of the streets altogether. So that's what I'm doing today. Let's hop right up in this video. I got a little cold, bear with me, right? First and foremost, man, I want to say once again, congratulations to Young Thug, right? He was released yesterday from being in the county jail for a while, you know. And so I'm just saying, I'm sending my shout outs to him, man, for standing firm in his convictions, in terms of what he believed a person in the streets should and should not do, right? So now, with that being said, you have a lot of people who may consider it a win for him, right? And to a certain degree, to a certain degree, to a certain degree, it was a win for him because he regained his freedom back. But let's keep in mind, he's been in jail 2 years, and that's time lost that you cannot get back. You know, there is no telling what he could have accomplished in that 2 year span had he not been incarcerated. And anytime your freedom is taken away from you, your movement is restricted, your communication with your loved ones is restricted, that is definitely a humongous, tremendous loss. And by no means at all can you consider that a win. You know, I'm not sure. I'm assuming, though, that he has children, right? And so if he does have children, that's 2 years, right, that he was unable to try to imprint his thinking, his beliefs, and things that he feel his children need to be successful in life, to be better humans in life. He was unable to give that to them on a daily, on a day-to-day basis. So like I said, once again, anytime you incarcerated and you lose your freedom and you got other people restricting your movements, telling you what you can and you cannot do, by no means is that a win, right? There are very few success stories in the streets, right? The streets do not produce many Floyd Mayweathers. You know what I'm saying? People who take no losses. You know, there are very, very, very few success stories like we may hear about the drug dealer Frank Mathis. You know, the dude in the 70s who supposedly was wanted by the police, and he disappeared with millions and millions of dollars, right? And went on to, I guess, live his life, right? We gonna hear more stories about dudes like Wayne Perry, Nicky Barnes, Harry O, Big Meech, you know, and that's, like I always like to say, that's if you lucky. Them are dudes who at least was fortunate enough to still have their lives and be sent to prison. You know, there's a lot of stories we gonna hear about individuals like maybe Soldier Slim, King Von, Mo 3, some of these more famous gangsters, Young Dolph, or individuals who was in the street and who unfortunately lost their lives. And due to their celebrity status, or you know, having a bit of a following, we heard about them, right? But there's way, 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 way more, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of peoples, just the plain old, you know, Lamar Smiths, the plain old DeAndre Washingtons, dudes that who were just everyday regular people and lost their lives in the streets that we'll never ever hear about. You know, they say it's only 2 real yards for a gangster or a stepper or a person that's out there in the streets, and that's the graveyard and the prison yard. And I know some of these old sayings are cliche. They seem to get played out. We hear them over and over, but we really don't realize how true they are until we're facing that situation. You know, man, I'm telling you, it's a cold situation in these streets out here, right? And regardless of what we see, there are some of us who still think that we can go undefeated in these streets, right? And there's still some of us who believe we can defy the odds, and it will not be us that get gunned down. It will not be us that get incarcerated for many, many years, right? And like I said, regardless of what coast you own, what city you own, that's one good thing about YouTube and the urban genre, whatever you want to call it, because it documents time and time and time again, individuals who are out there in the streets taking losses, being killed, being murdered. You can go back to the 50s, to the 60s, 70s, 80s, so on and so forth, right? With some of these YouTube documentaries and look and see what's happening and what was happening, and the same thing that is continuing to happen to dudes who are out there in the streets trying to defy the odds, man. The streets is undefeated, right? And I'm gonna just give it to y'all real. The judicial system don't care. You know what I'm saying? When I got convicted of my crime and was sentenced to 16 years plus life, I honestly heard the DA say, man, that I did the streets a favor. And he was talking about just because I'd killed another black individual who was a gang member, and then also I'm going to jail, I'm going to prison myself for life, never coming home. So it's actually we killing two birds with one stone. And dudes do not realize that, man. When you in jail, you ain't got nobody to call. Your homies and disappear. You know what I'm saying? Your mama's tired of sending you money, or she is unable to send you money. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a cold realization then that, man, you threw your life away. Sometimes it's going to take 5 years to realize it. Sometimes it's going to take 20 years to realize it. Some of these square dudes, they realize it the second they get in the back of the cop car and they feel them cold handcuffs get on their wrists, and they go to telling and pointing and this and that, right? The streets is undefeated, man. We see it time and time again where dudes will be in these circles and they'll feel that they got homeboys and unity and all that stuff. And then dudes go to telling, man, brothers, cousins, dudes who are like brothers, who you have known all your life, man. Let's keep it 100, right? Ain't nobody out here winning in these streets but the dudes that's doing the telling, man. This shit is ridiculous. Man, look at, and you know me, I don't like to necessarily call people out, but look at all these YouTube channels and look at these dudes, man, who have been caught either on camera or they have went to court and testified, and they're still on YouTube doing stories, getting hundreds and thousands of views and all this old type of stuff. Dudes who have done, things that are not considered something that a gangster would do, but they're still on YouTube winning, man. Dudes are more interested in the information and despite where it's coming from, as opposed to the individual who is given the information, man. Once again, look at these dudes, man, who have got caught up on tape telling on dudes, talking and stuff. When you get arrested, man, you're supposed to shut up, zip your lip, be quiet, ask them what time is lunch and where's my cell at, and send me on my way. You got these dudes that's been on camera talking and telling, giving out information on other individuals, dudes who have been to court, testified in murder cases, and they got YouTube channels, man, that's getting 40, 50,000 views every video, right? So for those dudes out there who are thinking that the principles of the street still matter and still apply, man, I'm sorry to break the bad news to you, but you wrong, man. You just to mess around and throw your life away, throw a good portion of your life away, or even potentially lose your life in the process, right? There are no street success stories, man. And if there are, right, if there are, for every one you can name me and argue that he is a street success story, man, I can name 10 to your one of dudes who unfortunately was not successful in the streets and they succumbed, lost their lives, or they're doing time, and maybe will never see the streets again, man. Let's look at Little Dirk. Little Dirk is in a situation right now, man, fighting for his life, man. The dude is fighting for his life. One day the dude is at Disneyland in Florida with all his children. The next day, the dude is sitting in jail, man, charged with murder for hire, looking at life without parole, looking at the death penalty. Man, look, that might have went over some dudes' heads, man. Let's hit that again. One day, man, the dude is living life. You know what I'm saying? The dude is in Florida at Disney World with all his kids, man, having fun. The dude is a millionaire, so the kids is getting everything they want. They having fun. They eating up everything. They having the time of their lives, man. They having the time of their lives. The next day, the dude is arrested and charged with something that could potentially take his freedom away forever. And he will never, ever again be able to be in the luxury of all those things that he had worked so hard to obtain, right? And if he does get found guilty, then of course he threw it all away for being in the streets, right? So I'm just telling y'all, man, the streets is undefeated. Man, I done 24 years straight in prison, man. 24 years straight. So pretty much all my 20s, all of my 30s, and a good portion of my 40s locked up in the streets, man. I like to say this. I went to jail. My daughter was 8 months old. I came home. She was 25, man. Let that sink in. I'm telling you, the streets is undefeated, man. 2 yards is 2 yards for a dude that's really out there in the street. That's the graveyard or the prison yard. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm telling you, man, this game is free. Y'all take it for what it's worth, you know. Don't be that dude, though, that hears this message and 2 or 3 weeks, a month or two later, finds himself locked up for still trying to live by the code of the streets, still chasing street principles when your homeboy or somebody close is going to tell on you, man. Like I say, it is what it is. You already know who it is. It's your boy, 16 to life. Accept that free game, man.